Hello, everyone, and welcome again to the 7 Points Podcast. I'm your co-host, Warren Trent, and we have a very, very special guest that Sergeant Kameron Lee is going to introduce.
Yeah, we have with us today Deputy Director, Lieutenant Colonel Deston Coleman. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
That's
great.
a lot of words, right? Like you have your title and then your rank.
Yeah.
Deputy Director, Lieutenant Colonel.
And it hasn't been introduced that way prior to you doing it right there. It's usually one or the other. So
And cool guy, too.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I think we do that so that, those that maybe aren't in the organization understand, you have your position and then you also have your rank. But thank you again for being here. Prior to this, we talked about, hey, this is going to be a pretty open book conversation. So I'm actually really excited to visit with you and get to know you better and have you share some of your experiences and your thoughts and leadership and all that stuff. So
look forward to it.
So thanks for being here.
Yeah, so tell me, how long have you been with DPS? How did you get here, and where were your beginnings here?
Sure. Well, to start out, I've been with DPS for 34 years this September. To go back how it started, my father was in this agency. He retired in 2006. He came on the agency in 1967 prior to DPS being DPS. DPS came in July of 69. He was in the Arizona Highway Patrol before that. So I was born into the agency. It's all I've seen is my father putting on this uniform when I was younger and going to work, and the DPS car in the driveway. It was just common practice to have different officers around or us going to functions at DPS. I grew up around this agency and it just inspired me to want to serve in the same way. Fast forward, kind of a fun fact, when I started college at Arizona State, actually had a dual major. I was majoring in justice studies and I was also majoring in education. I had a passion to serve kids. I wanted to teach. Didn't matter the grade level. I wanted to teach kids and work with children. So I had a dual major for my first 2 years, just thinking of what I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I had a larger, what I could feel, a larger audience, a bigger impact I could make in the world being in law enforcement rather than education. So I focused on that and ultimately graduated from Arizona State with a justice studies degree and started the academy 40 days later.
So I'm sure you've had these conversations with your dad. I guess from your perspective, how does it feel to kind of follow in his footsteps? And then on the other side of that, how does he feel about you following in his footsteps?
Yeah, I know he's proud of the facts. Both my brother and I went into DPS here. My brother and him have both since retired. We've talked a lot about it. Younger in my career, he was a major and I'm an officer at the time. And, I constantly joke with employees in this agency, hey, come up and say hi. And I routinely get the answer is we don't come into that office. And and I say, well, come on, we'll try it. But then I think back when I was an officer, I actually had a blood relative who was a major and I didn't come up and say hi to him. And so I understand, but he's proud of the choices we made to come into this agency. He still has been retired since 2006 and arguably one of the most proudest troopers that we've ever had, still being retired at 19 years and still loves the place, loves the agency and supports the agency in everywhere he can. And, it's funny that both my brother and I followed his career path, and both of my children went into serving. My daughter's an attorney. My son went into Phoenix Fire. So the DPS legacy is over. We will put a stop to that once I retire. But
yeah,
it's been nothing but great since I've been here.
So how has DPS evolved since you first came on?
Well,
It's got to be quite a bit, huh?
Yeah, when I came on in 91, I did a brief stint in Bullhead City, and then I was transferred to Gila Bend. And my wife and I had stayed house there. Just recently removed the house we lived in. We put new ones in finally, but we lived down there for 4.5 years. And when I first got out there, cell phones weren't a thing. I don't even know if they were thought about. We didn't have it. It wasn't discussed. And our radios, we didn't have a portable. If the portable that we ultimately got would work off of the outside PA, I call it, you would turn on your outside radio. So when you're up next to the car, if they called you, you could hear it. And now looking at what our troopers have today and what all of our employees work with some of the best equipment we can have. And there's so much in these cars now. And when I came on, we had a radio and a little siren box, and that was it. And we didn't know any better. So it was great. And still some of my fondest memories of those 4.5 years down in Gila Bend.
And you were talking about you lived in state DPS housing.
Correct.
Down there.
Correct. And I mean, you look back on it, and it was a small house. It had it was built in 1960, so it had paneling on the inside, but it was a little 3-bedroom house, two bathroom. My wife and I were newly married a year after I came on, so it was all we needed. It was great. You learn how to, I say, be on your own and be a trooper out there, because you were largely the amount of time we were working by ourselves. So you learned the job and went out and did it. It was just a great time I had out there.
That's a fun area to work too on Interstate 8. I started in District 6, Casa Grande.
Yes.
So, I went all the way to the Maricopa County line, but oftentimes when they would have their district meetings in Yuma, we would cover all of Interstate 8 all the way to California. And I actually really enjoyed going out and covering that Gila Bend area all the way to Yuma.
Yeah, I think it's a hidden gem in the state. I really enjoyed my time out there. And the experience, I think, shaped me going forward.
I mean, you learn so much, because I was talking to the director about this. What we get to do in this agency as an individual trooper, things that a lot of municipal and county agencies don't, and that is running huge scenes, either by ourselves or just with a sergeant or just with another trooper, taking command of a scene and doing all of these things all on our own.
Correct.
My first fatal crash off of field training, I remember my sergeant on our way out there, he said, "Cancel everyone. 626 has it, and I'll be out there to help him." And that was it. And it was a double fatal crash. Mm-hmm. And but looking back, I learned a lot, because he forced me into that position where I had to manage this whole thing on my own, fresh off of field training. And so it's cool to have that rural experience for sure.
So as deputy director, you run the gamut in terms of your responsibilities. Rewarding, challenging. What is your typical day like?
Oh, I guess the best part about this job that I'm sitting in now is, besides having a great staff, they keep the day rolling, keep us organized. But if it's not a meeting, I try to get out of the office. I like to go and visit the employees in this agency and do pop-ins. I'm not sure everybody likes to pop in. I enjoy the pop-ins, just want to say hi for a few minutes, and maybe it takes a little bit of time off their day because everybody around here is stressed. But my day-to-day is, I guess, like I say, the best part is I don't know what's coming, what we're going to do. Certain things are scheduled, yes. Can't get away from those. We have some great meetings, but the unknowns is what makes it fun. And then trying to keep track of what's going on in this state it can be overwhelming at times. There's a lot going on, and talk to previous deputy directors, and they'll give you advice and say, prepare for this and that. And it's funny. I don't think we can get advice to prepare for everything you're going to deal with on a daily basis. And like I said, with the staff, with the assistant directors we have right now running divisions, it's the only way to get through the day is with the expertise we have in all those divisions.
Previously, you talked about when your dad was a major, and you've mentioned that you have an open door and you want people to come in and visit. How do we kind of change that culture? Because it's true, you do have a very open door policy and you want guys to come in and see you, but there's just that stigma of the director's office. And really the only reason you would go in there would be for a bad thing or something had happened or, so I mean, how do we change that? Is it like you're doing pop-ins and just getting to know the guys?
But it's going to be hard to change. It's a cultural thing. And I also think it's a respect thing.
Yeah.
Excuse me. I didn't come upstairs. Number one, I didn't have any business being upstairs unless I was called to there. So there wasn't a stop by and say hi type of attitude at the time. And I'll be honest with you, I've worked for people in these seats in the past throughout my 34-year career that it wasn't welcome to go up. You had your job, they had theirs. And I am trying to change that. And I think a lot of it's just my personality. I want to get to know people. I like to have, and I say relationships. I don't have relationship with somebody that comes up and visits for 5 minutes or I see them in the hall for 2 minutes. But during that short window of time, we have a relationship and we can talk and get to know each other and just be pleasant. I mean, having an open door, as you say, can sometimes get, as they said, overwhelming in another facet just because there's a lot of people wanting to come in. And I say a lot. I've been there in this seat approaching a year in, I don't know, 20, 25 people maybe have come that didn't have business being there that came by and say hi. And I really appreciate those that have come by. It's been great. We don't spend a lot of time together. As you were saying, my day is filled. There's not that we can sit and visit for 30 minutes, but if we can get a couple of minutes, some people stick their head in, say hi, and turn around and walk away. And that was good. I want people to feel comfortable in this agency. It's their agency. I happen to be in a seat that's deputy director. That's great, but it's their agency and feel free to walk where you want to walk and come say hi. I think it's great.
Well, I think it's important. You mentioned feeling comfortable. And one of the things being on the professional staff side is that I've noticed that there's a lot of care given to the wellness of troopers and professional staff. And something that, I can attest to, it's that's needed. And so what services do the professional staff and our sworn staff have available to them? Because I mean, there's some things that are difficult to unsee that have been covered that you guys go to.
Correct. Well, you mentioned wellness. In 2020, when I became an AD, I've had a goal for many years, but when I became an AD, I'm like, hey, we need to put something in place to help our employees at this agency. And when I say help, it's not just a psychological help, it's physical help, it's what's going on in their personal life. If we can help, if they want help, their professional life, we can definitely help. Because I think what makes this agency a success is the people, and healthy people is going to make a healthy agency. And so I've had this goal for years. I get put into this seat, and Director Glover and I were meeting the first week. I don't even know if I was appointed yet, but I knew it was coming, and we had met. And he asked me some of my goals. And one of my goals I told him was wellness, and I kind of explained what I wanted to see, where I wanted this to get to. And, he looks at me and kind of smiles, and he says, yep, we're going to get this done. I feel the same way. I'd like to do it. So we launched shortly after me getting in this position, and I met with different assistant directors. I met with the director again, putting some ideas down on paper. This is where I'd like to get to. This is what I want to see. I want our people to have an opportunity to stay mentally and physically healthy. And how do we get there? This is where I want to be. It's going to involve professionals outside of this agency, such as doctors of different services that can help our people. So how do I bring that facet in? Then you're looking at how do I get employees that are going to be willing to open up? And, that's a question I don't have answers to yet. We'll see how this goes. But as I said, I met with different assistant directors, chiefs of staff. Ultimately, I had some stuff already taking place in Highway Patrol Division. So I met with Colonel Byrd and Major Borquez, and I kind of said, this is what I want to see. And they both at the same time said, can we put some stuff together and present it to you and see where it goes? And what I will take credit out of this is it was kind of my dream to get to where we're going to be soon. But I had those two and others that just did the lion's share of research and coming up with ideas, and the director saying he wanted certain things done. And then I would say, no, I want this done, not against him, but hey, we want this done also. And when I say what I want done, I really wanted a mandatory visit with a clinician. And, that started a fire immediately. It was mandatory. Oh my gosh, you're going to send me to a psychologist. It's not it at all. What I want to do is put you in front of somebody. As an employee of this agency, you get an opportunity to be in front of somebody that can provide you a direction for help if you choose to use it. I can't make you talk when you go. If you have nothing to discuss with them, then you don't discuss with them. It'd be 30 minutes of a quiet, possibly uncomfortable situation. I don't know. But you will have the opportunity. And when I leave and I'm gone, and as we go in the future of this agency, I want to look back and say that Director Glover and I and others, leaders in this agency, because it's not just us, provided our employees with an opportunity to get both mentally and physically well. And we've hired over at the gym in Phoenix, we've hired 3 employees that will work with you on nutrition. They'll work with you on a workout, what you're trying to do. If you go and say goals and say, I want to lose 5 pounds, or I'm going to be able to run 5 miles. Whatever you want to do, whatever your goals are, you can meet with these professionals and they will set you on a path to get you where you need to be. We stress the workout. It makes everybody healthy. I encourage every employee in this agency to use the facilities we have, just implement it on time, on duty time to exercise, use it. And when I say exercise, you may need to use your time just to get mentally right, and you go meditate somewhere. And if that's what you're needing right now, if that's going to make you healthy, then let's do it. We need to get people where they're good at work. Because as I said, if we have healthy, both mentally and physically healthy people in this agency, it's going to make this agency ultimately better. So that's a big push. And the director came out with, wanted to have the reprieve, the 30-day reprieve. There's policy out on that. It's launching in January. There's already applications coming in now to set dates, and I think it's going to be a great thing. We're getting calls from across the country of different agencies saying, how are you doing this? Why are you doing this? And it's about our people. You get to get away and hopefully unplug and get your mind right, get your body right, and then come back and go get this retirement that we're all working for. That's what this is about. And there's just numerous options that are going to be available. And I'm excited where it's going to go. I think that people are going to use it. I will say I've informally met with what I would say, in my opinion, are the biggest, strongest, toughest, not needing help troopers in this agency. Been around 25 years. Say, hey, this is what I'm wanting to do. What do you think? And they're already seeing people. this is going to be a smooth transition. They looked at me and they said, this should have been on 20 years ago. And it gave me the positive. There's going to be naysayers to this. And
Sure.
you know what? You don't have to use the facilities. You don't have to discuss anything. That's not, you're not going to be forced to do anything. You're going to be forced to go there. But what you do with that time is up to you. And we just want you to have the opportunity to get healthy. And it's going to be there. We're looking forward to it. I'm super excited. The director and I are really optimistic this is going to be a positive thing for the agency and for generations to come in this agency.
You know, we've had this discussion. I think there is a lot of buy-in with the things that you guys have implemented. I know personally, I have the buy-in as well, and I've talked to a lot of troopers and folks around the agency, and they have the buy-in. There's still a stigma that I think is probably going to be the hardest part for us to overcome. And had this discussion before in your office informally, and that is back to our mental health and the opportunity that we have to actually go see someone to help us with that. And the way that it was explained to me was we have our emotional cup, right? And with the things that we see, especially at work, and then the things at home, like we start to fill that emotional cup up. Mm-hmm. But then it gets to a point where it's completely full. And it only takes one more thing before it just starts to overflow. And somehow, some way, we have to learn how to offload or remove some of that stuff. And one way to do that is to actually go see a professional.
Correct.
And this is the stigma that I think we are getting past. We still have some struggle with. Can we talk about that a little bit? Because I know for me personally, it is something that I have utilized myself, and it has been fantastic. It has not only helped me here, but more importantly at home, where I'm able to deal with, I can shut things off a lot easier now than I used to be able to when I get home and leave it at the door. And I wasn't able to do that before. There's still work I need to do, but especially as troopers and even our crime scene folks and our lab folks that just see disgusting, gruesome things every day, there's no way that you can be just good.
Sure. And I think going back to how you started that, there's the stigma, and it is, like I mentioned, I came on in 91. Stigma, to say the least. At that time, you went and did a crash, you went and did whatever work you had to do, and it's like, hey, you want to go get some lunch, and then we'll get back out and we'll finish our day. And just the way of the world at the time. And that doesn't fault anybody in 1991. Sure. This hadn't risen to the level it is now. So we have knowledge, experience, data to back up where we're going now. I don't want the stigma. I've heard people say, well, if I go see a professional, I'm weak. I will say one of the toughest persons I know went and got help, and he's ultimately such a better person now than he could ever have been before. And I didn't know it until you are there before and after. But it's professional help, and the last thing you would say about this person is he's weak, ever. And so I had the opportunity over the summer to attend a wellness retreat, and volunteered to go. I wanted to go. It was over in California through First Responder Wellness. And it was 3 days with 9 other chiefs, assistant chiefs, and myself. And you were, as I describe it, kind of at a camp in the forest. And each of us had a little cabin. And from 7 a.m. until 10 p.m., you were with those folks and having some very candid discussions. I came out of that in 3 days, have lifelong friends with the people I met in just that 3-day period because of what was shared. And you find, you walk in, you're like, wow, I didn't go through anything like that. I'm not that bad. And then you start unpacking things with the group, with the professionals that are there. And it's not it doesn't have a tier of yours is worse than mine or less than mine, because I have my problems and everybody that's watching this has their problems, and each of them is their problem. It doesn't make it better or worse. And I look at it that people aren't going to be weak. I've been meeting with professional for I don't even know how long. And dare I say, I'm not weak. And it helps. It's awesome. Like you said, it helps home. And you mentioned what we see at work and what our different employees, both professional staff and sworn, see at work. And that is legitimate. We see some horrific things. What I've found over this last 12 months is I'm having one-on-one meetings with managers, majors, both professional staff and sworn around this agency. And what really hit me is what our employees bring to work every day. And with what this agency is trying to do with the mental health side, it can help with that. It doesn't have to be something you saw at DPS or you worked a crash. It's something I brought from home. I'm struggling with X. And let me tell you, the people I've interviewed, or not interviewed, it turned into an interview, I guess, but the people I've met with and talked, and we sit in my office for about an hour. And yeah, we have some resilient people in this agency that have gone through horrific things, and they're heroes. They're coming to work every day. I see them still every day, and they're smiling, and they have every reason not to smile, but they're coming in and actually taking advantage of programs. And I think if we get by this stigma, which we will, I mean, it's just time. It's going to get through there where it's not going to be a stigma. You look at other companies around the world are very big on mental health, and law enforcement needs to get on board with that. And it's coming on board. I think it's going to be good. And if you think you're weak or you're going to get called weak going to get help, come see me, because I'll tell you, you're not weak, man. You're healthy. You get you better.
And to your point, what I found in my own experience, you know, I initiated the process based off of something that I dealt with at work.
Mm-hmm.
But as I'm digging into this process with my therapist, more than half of what we're talking about is not even work-related stuff, but it's unpacking and emptying all that emotional stuff so we have room to take what may be coming next, and we can handle it then. If we're full, we cannot handle it. And to your point, the healthier and happier we are outside of work, the better we're going to be here. And that's, in my personal experience, has been the absolute case. So I don't think that there's any weakness in that. In fact, I told my wife, I said, this is probably one of the harder things that I've done. Mm-hmm. Like, it's hard because I am not good at communicating the way that I'm feeling, the things that are, you know, going through my mind. And it's kind of been pulled out of me, forced out of me. And it's been super tough.
Well, and by nature, especially those of us that came into this career, we're here to help. And we don't talk about ourselves. I'm going to help you rather than help yourself. When you go in and you're talking about yourself and some of the issues, and I literally laugh and joke with the doctor. He'll say some things, and I just shake my head. I'm like, wow, like you're just transparent. They can see right through you on things, but it's good, and it brings you to kind of level sets where you're at and gives you goals to get to and what you need to be concerned with and what you don't, and really just how to deal with it. And it will make a better home life for you. It'll make a better professional life. You'll be a better person, a better friend, whatever it may be. It's positive in every which way, and I encourage those to do it. And like I said earlier, you're not weak. You're healthy.
Yeah, I just has always viewed it as a sign of strength to ask for help, to acknowledge it. You know, I want to be the best Warren Trent that I can be to my kids, my girlfriend, to my colleagues, my coworkers, my friends.
Correct.
And I just want to be the best person that I could be.
So before we finish up, there's one other thing that I wanted to touch on with you before we did that, still related to mental health, because I've heard it more than once, and that is the fear of, if it's found out that I had to go seek help, that it may affect my job.
That's a great question, and the simple answer, and I'll just say, is no, it doesn't affect your job. I've had folks, 3 in particular, be in my office over the last 7 months. In the last 7 months, they were going through some issues, and they actually went away from the agency in-house to get some things lined out. And all 3 of them are working today. In fact, I saw one walking over here. It's not going to affect your job. If you need to get away and get some stuff taken care of, let's do that. If you break your ankle playing basketball, you're going to be off for a few weeks, a month, whatever it takes. If you have surgery longer, but you're going to get it fixed and then you're going to come back. It's the same deal. It's not going to affect your job. And that comes to our leadership. And if I may touch on that for a second, but
Sure.
our leadership has to support what we're doing. And I say leadership down to the first line supervisor on up. First line supervisors are a huge part of our people's lives, both professional staff and sworn. And I can go back to my first supervisor was Sergeant Russell Dunham in Gila Bend, badge 607. So I'm walking in, 4582 is my badge. He's badge 607. Like, whoa.
Wow.
So, he's senior. He's been on, at the time, I think he was approaching 30 years. I don't know. But he was a great leader in the fact that he held you accountable, but he didn't provide undue stress that you didn't need to have. And that's what I really want to push to our first line supervisors, is to not be the stress in our people's lives. Our people, like I said earlier, they bring stuff to work. They've got stresses already. Our mission, both pro staff and sworn, our mission is stressful. And then you have the supervisor coming in and just piling on top of that. We don't need that. Now, hold them accountable. Every bit of it. Don't think that a nice supervisor that's empathetic is a weak supervisor, because that's just completely false narrative. Hold them accountable. That's what the sergeants are there for. That's what captains are there for, and so on, is to lead our people so that they make the correct decisions and are successful in this career, but don't add undue stress onto what's already there in the mission. And if people get stressed because they get held accountable, then I guess you're going to be stressed a little bit, because they're going to hold you accountable. But I say a supervisor that holds people accountable and keeps them in line is going to be more respected than anybody else. I look back to that first sergeant I mentioned, and I respect him as a man as much as anybody in this world. And that's because if you needed to be written up, you got written up. If you needed to be chewed out a little bit, he chewed you out a little bit. And then he said, hey, you want to go get a pancake? And you went out and you went to work, and he took care of you. And he was the father figure, a bunch of young guys out there in Gila Bend at the time. And he was a father figure to us and our supervisors at any level. But you ask yourself, if your people are going through a traumatic time in their life, whatever that may be, at a personal time or work life, that's a traumatic event, are they calling you? Or are they calling somebody else? What's your relationship with your people? Do your people trust you enough that they're going through a bad time that they will call you? And not every one of them will, but you should strive to have the respect and confidence of your people that at least they have the ability to reach out to you if needed. And it's about leadership. I lead through relationships, trying to build that respect back and forth. with the people I meet and treat them how they want to be treated. It's a golden rule.
Yeah.
Treat people how they want to be treated. And that has nothing to do. You separate somebody getting held accountable. Like you said earlier, my office is the bad office to come into because it's usually undisciplined. Well, that's true. There's a lot of that. But they don't get treated bad there. There's a policy. You violated it. Here's what's going to happen. Let's move on.
Yep.
But it's not a disrespect. And I think we do that around this agency. Again, it's going to make the agency successful. We have great people here. Great people that I can't speak enough of the job that's done across this agency and the phone calls I get from outside. Phone call last week from California that had worked with a professional staff at our agency to help them with a case. And, it's a 10-minute conversation about how good they are. And I just get to sit there when you mention my day-to-day. I just get to sit there on the phone for 10 minutes here and how great this agency is, and nothing makes me feel better. We have great people here, and we do a phenomenal work.
So all of these things that we're implementing obviously really benefits us as an agency overall. But more than that, it's the public that is also beneficiary when we have a happier, healthier workforce. They get just that much better service because, again, as troopers, we're oftentimes contacting the public on one of their worst days. And if we're in a good place, we're going to be able to just deal with that and really help them that much more.
It is. It's professionalism. And I could just reiterate what you said. The both mentally and physically healthy human being will make the work they do better, be better service to the public. They'll be better family members. They'll be better friends. They'll be better people overall. And that's the goal, is working here I've been here 34 years. This is all great, but this is a 34-year stamp in my life. And what's more important is when I'm home, away from the agency, and when I retire, and my retirement life is that I'm physically and mentally healthy to enjoy that part. We work all of our life to have a retirement, then let's get things done so we can enjoy that retirement and enjoy what's important to us, which is our families, and go enjoy them.
So for our folks out there, you've heard it from the deputy director.
Yep.
It's okay. It's okay to get help. And, if they're not comfortable going and talking to you about it, come to me.
Sure.
I will be more than happy to sit down with you and talk to you about my experience.
And we have this set with First Responder Wellness and other companies we're using. There's been people tentative in the back that in the past, they didn't want to talk to me. They may not want to talk to you, but they'll talk to somebody that's not affiliated with this agency. Yeah. And that's what's available now. Yep. Is you don't have to call and tell me anything. You can call and talk to somebody you don't even know. They'll get you to where you need to be. And I never know about it.
Yeah.
Because when we have this program, I'll know how many people use this, but I'll never know who did. Yep. And I'll never know why they did. I'll just know that it's making a difference because people are using it. It's all it is. And the privacy, I don't need to know, but I want you to get better. I just want to know that it's there, or I want you to know that it's there and you can use it. You got a gym. We have gyms throughout the state. And I mentioned earlier, we have the 3 nutritionists and specialists here in Phoenix. If you don't work in Phoenix, make a phone call, because those 3, they'll be at your place the next morning, wherever you are in this state. This isn't a Phoenix-only fitness thing.
Yeah.
They live in Phoenix, so they're working out of Phoenix right now. Just like any of us, if there's something you'd like to have done in your gym up in Flagstaff, call them. They have a state car. They check out a state car. They'll drive north. They'll meet with you, and that's any part of the state. So for those out there that would like to get some help with nutrition or a physical fitness workout, make the phone call, and I can guarantee you they will be in your city helping you within 24 hours. We're going to come out.
And I know that's happening because I think the last 2 times that I've been in our gym, I've seen them in there walking through an employee through different workouts, talking about nutrition and all that stuff. So I know it's happening.
Yep, it's there. We want the service to be for everybody.
Well, Deputy, thank you. Thank you for your willingness to come on our podcast, popping in. Thank you for your openness, your frankness about wellness. It's very important. Really appreciate and thank you for everything that you do. And everyone, listen, for those listening, for those watching our podcast, if you need help, there's no shame. We encourage you to seek it out. And thank you everyone for tuning in to the 7 Points Podcast.